Well, hello there. Welcome to Unsafe Spaces. I want to welcome you into our little fun party we have on a weekly basis with a whole different level or different group of things we get to, including sports, including football, and some other things that are on our minds. But we'll start here with college football and the world of football in general. And in the world of college football, that means we're talking about the conference championship games. And this weekend is going to be just nuts. We're going to start with the SEC championship game down in Atlanta. The Georgia Bulldogs and the Auburn Tigers, a rematch of 3 weeks ago when Auburn just beat the bejesus out of the Bulldogs. Bulldogs came in as a big favorite, came in undefeated. Auburn hasn't lost or been specifically challenged that much since then. And they're coming off pretty much doing the same thing to Alabama they did to Georgia. I would imagine in a lot of people's minds, especially Auburn fans, they are a prohibitive favorite. Kind of depends on whether or not they'll have everybody at full strength health-wise. Kerryon Johnson, their running back specifically. But I see Auburn winning this and Auburn moving on as the SEC champ into the college football playoff. Next up on our list of college matchups for this coming weekend is the ACC championship up in Charlotte, where it'll be the Clemson Tigers against the Miami Hurricanes, the old U that, was almost back until last week when they lost at Pittsburgh, undefeated going in there. Same as it was 10 years ago when Rich Rodriguez in West Virginia came into Pittsburgh against another 4-7 team. And again, lost then as they did last week. So Miami now sitting at 11-1, Clemson 11-1. I would make personally Clemson about a touchdown favorite in this game. Both defenses are really good. Both offenses I don't think are equally as adept. I think Clemson has an edge, especially later in the year, especially when you get into games in December and January, where they have thrived the last couple of years, specifically last year, being the defending national champion. I think Clemson wins this one by about a field goal. All right, next up on our hit parade when it comes to games is going to be the Big 12 championship game. Yeah, that'll be a fun one. Oklahoma and TCU. Now, it was a few weeks back these same teams played, and Oklahoma just beat their butts. I believe the score was 38-20. Don't see things being significantly different in results-wise outside of the margin. I just don't think Oklahoma will beat them by that much. Oklahoma has a big edge on the offensive side of the ball. I don't care how well anybody plays offensively for TCU. They just don't put up enough points to hang with Baker Mayfield and the Oklahoma Sooners. So I make Oklahoma a prohibitive favorite. They win by about 2 touchdowns. To me, and this is a relatively medium scoring game, so I'm looking at like 35-21 kind of a score with OU coming out on top. Next up on our schedule of games here for college in this weekend's conference championship, the Big Ten championship, featuring the team nobody respects. Nobody gives Wisconsin much credit. They talk about their defense. You don't hear much about Paul Chryst, their head coach. You don't hear much about Hornibrook, their quarterback. You don't hear much about, you don't hear much about them at all as far as being very good. They're referred to as a weak schedule kind of a team that's undefeated, playing Ohio State, who the College Football Playoff Committee desperately wants to get in the playoff. And if they win this game, beating an undefeated Wisconsin, they very well may do that, but I think there's still a chance the Big Ten champion, if it's Ohio State, doesn't get in the playoff. And I think Wisconsin's going to win this game. I think they win it 23-20, right around there, 2017. It'll be about a field goal game, but Wisconsin comes out on top with that defense being the big difference in the game. And the last of our 5 matchups championship weekend in the Big 5 is the Rose Bowl, not the Rose Bowl, you dummy. It's the Pac-12 championship, which will be in Santa Clara at Levi Stadium between the Trojans and Stanford. Kind of a home game for Stanford. You know, as the crow flies, probably, 10, 15 minutes down the road on 101 to Santa Clara to get to this place, to get to the stadium, to get to Levi Stadium. There's a world of difference between these teams. I think Stanford is a real meat and potatoes team, as a lot of them have been since Jim Harbaugh started their comeback many years ago. Stanford's big. They're physical. They grind things out. They're not particularly explosive, which I think hurts them against SC. Jones, the running back, is very good. Sam Darnold has quit throwing all the interceptions. I mean, first 8 games, they had like 19 turnovers. In the last 4 games, they've had 2 or 3. So they figured out their turnover problem, the Trojans have. And unless they just relapse, I think Trojans win this by about 10 points over Stanford. All right, that'll do it for college football. In lieu of scores and whatnot that everyone's pretty familiar with from last week, on the NFL side, let's take a look at a few things that have gone on in the world that is the NFL, as clueless at times as they may be. We'll start off with drones. With drones, you may ask? Yeah, they're talking about catching footballs from drones at the Pro Bowl skills competition, dropping them from X number of feet above. And, this subject came up into the news this last weekend because in the Bay Area, there were leaflets dropped over the stadiums in Santa Clara and in Oakland that I think fans thought were part of the whole process. They thought that it wasn't, as it turns out. And I'm not going to give the group publicity here as to what it was about. You can look that up yourself. But yeah, they were dropping them by drones. It's a interesting technology, let's put it that way. It's a little unchained and unfettered as we speak, because you can do a lot of things that are, unsupervised with drones as we speak, and the NFL is welcoming them with open arms. I just be very careful about what I asked for and or did when it comes to drones. Now the next is the brawls last week. In fact, the brawl last week featured the Oakland Raiders and the Denver Broncos. Across the league, 5 players were ejected in fights in 3 different games, but again, there were only 2 players that will miss games over this, and that's Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree. Talib of Denver and Crabtree of Oakland, who are seen here in the foreground, tussling a bit. It was all over a pulled or ripped chain, the chain being Crabtree's and Talib being the ripper when it comes to that. You know what? It's a bad look of many, many bad looks for the NFL. And you know what this really is? This is dogs marking trees. You ever take a dog out for a walk, he immediately has to go over to a tree that's already been marked, and he's got to mark it himself? That's what athletes look like when they do crap like this. It's stupid, it's unwarranted, and it's got no place in the game. But you know what? Welcome, because there's a lot of crap going on right now in the NFL. It's got no place for the game. Next up on our list, as far as the NFL goes, pretty simple. The protest and the kneelers, 23 this last week. So the numbers are dwindling and dwindling. The news factor when it comes to the kneelers is there was a fund being set up by the NFL where they would put several million over a course of 10 years, like 90 to 100, into social justice kind of programs for the players to direct. And in typical NFL player fashion, there's now groups starting to splinter off. And they don't represent me, and they don't. You ever wonder when you see stuff like this, why the NFL Players Group, the Players Association, takes it in the backside every time they take the owners on? It's because players don't agree on stink. They can't agree on it's sunny or it's dark. They can't agree on anything on a prolonged basis. And this is a great example of that. And another of the less than stellar looks when it comes to that. And a lot of these things we're talking about around the NFL has come down to people really being turned off and going out of the way to avoid the NFL. And I think it's sad. I really do. And it's not just a little bit. You know, I think that people want you to believe when the president tweets and mentions how things are going downhill, that it's just hype and it's just talk and a boycott is not working. Well, when you start looking at Thanksgiving Day last week and you look at those 3 games and you look at the amount of people that watched those 3 games, you look at the crowds in the stadiums of a game that was already having problems before this season. As a guy that played high school football, a guy that played college football, heck, I'm in the College Football Hall of Fame. I played on one of the best teams that's ever played in the NFL, in the San Francisco 49ers, various versions of that team. And I love this game. And they are screwing this thing up. And you're seeing the owners act like the players. They can't agree on squat now. Now you have a Jerry Jones factor, and you have these guys, the factions over here, and you got Roger Goodell, and he's defending his job. And by the way, nobody running a professional league that doesn't actually own something and have skin in the game deserves to make $50 million, period. End of report. None. And especially when you're doing the job that these guys are doing and letting this game go down the toilet. And that's where this game is going. It is going straight down the toilet. It'll start on TV, and it'll start with audience. It'll start, you know, at the stadiums. They've got to find a solution and quit fighting and quit killing each other over things. Because otherwise, the game of professional football is going to take a serious step back. Because in a lot of people's mind, college football is a much safer, is a much better game to watch. Because they do control it tighter, and they do take care of the product. And it is a much purer form of the game. Now, is NFL a better brand of football, a more refined version of football? Heck yeah, it is. But you know what? Get your head out of your butt and take care of your business. That's all I got to say. Okay, next up is my monologue or commentary. It's all commentary, but here's a specific place that it's commentary on this week that just went past, and something to look forward to in this week ahead. College football coaches and coaching hires specifically have happened over the last week. God bless Tennessee. They are now the laughing stock of college football. They can't find a coach. When they find a coach, they can't hire a coach. When they think they've hired a coach, the fans don't want the coach. It's a nightmare. But my point is, coaches are now going to be paid over $70 million in buyouts of their contracts. And these aren't all the fired coaches. This is just the guys from recently. Okay? Well, give you a point of reference. $70 million for the game of college football, who is not completely blameless when it comes to, or not only blameless, but don't have liability when it comes to head injuries. That's more money than they've ever dedicated to or spent on researching a devastating disease, CTE. Have they spent that much money on CTE? No. Have they spent that much money, $70 million, as they would buying out these coaches' contracts on head injury and traumatic brain injury and helmet research? Has that happened? No, it hasn't. You know why? They don't think they have to. They buy out contracts as a luxury. Big alumni, big groups come out, and they'll buy out a McElwain. They'll buy out a Sumlin. They'll buy out a Jim Mora at UCLA. They'll buy out all these guys just so they can get a new coach in there. Now, would you think the common sense side of the brain with all this money that is in college football, they'd start looking at the liability side. Because don't fool yourself. They do a better job of protecting the players on the field in college football. They call the targeting more often. They're much more diligent about it. And I think college football coaches in general do a much better job of teaching technique. And that's where it's got to start, really, at the high school and college level before they ever get to the pros. But the college football game better also wake up about head injuries, because you are liable. And there's a train coming down that track, and you've got a choice. You can step aside, or that sucker is going to run you over. And traumatic brain injuries, CTE, and concussions are a serious, life-altering effect that the reality is they come from football. It hasn't been 100% proven yet, but trust me, I'm going out on a real big limb. It comes from football, all right? So let's get serious about it, and maybe at least spend as much on telling coaches to go away as you do on researching the effects of the game we all love so much. All right, it's time to have a little bit of fun. That means it's time for Butt Hurt of the Week. Cue the Matador. Ah, my man, my man, my man. Ay, 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 ay. You know, some of the butt hurt this week is inquiring minds want to know, sort of like quizzical, stories. And some of these stories are just, wow, I didn't know that. If you ever spend much time in the ocean and you go surfing or body surfing or love to go to the beach and just jump in the water, and salt water's got a great restorative effect. And you have to be aware of your surroundings, obviously. We've all learned that in the beach. You got to know there's jellyfish. You got to know there's, rays and stuff on the ground that could, rocks and coral and whatnot. Check out this video. And a tiger shark. Look where this is. Now, my man here is either clueless, because that's a fin out of the water right in front of you. Then you got these two next to him. So just know, and that's obviously a great white shark. That's the business end of a great white shark. I don't know. I think you got to be a little more careful about where you're going swimming, because they're around us a lot. So unless you want to be lunch, I'd be a little bit more aware. And now this last story is something that's a little disconcerting, and it's something that happened recently, and it was, I guess, kind of what you'd say at the end of an argument. And, I'm not sure exactly what the beginning of the argument was about. I'm not sure what the middle of the argument was about, but I do know what the end of the argument was about. Yes, pruning shears. And it was a sex game gone wrong. No kidding. Yes. His stuff was hacked off by a set of pruning shears. And police were called. And this was a game. This was something that, I guess was supposed to be fun. And somebody just sort of, in fact, that is the young lady that's being charged with that. Something went wrong. And I don't know what to tell you. Much like I really don't know what to tell you when it comes to some of the stuff you've seen in the news of late, like this guy. Just don't know what to tell you. Only difference is with him, there were not pruning shears, unfortunately, involved. All right. That'll do it for Butt Hurt of the Week. Hope you enjoyed that. And we will move on now to real world news. Yeah, real world news is actually a little humorous this week. At least it starts off that way. It's the holiday season. You know what? We've had Thanksgiving. It's now officially okay to hear Christmas music in the malls. listen to Christmas music in your car, listen to Christmas music in your house. You go to the mall and you're going to see Santa Claus. But we don't all greet Santa Claus the same way. Check this lady out. She has a few anger issues. Wow, Santa looks confused. Really confused. I haven't seen anybody deal with Santa since, who was this, Elf? Talking to his mall Santa?
Who the heck are you?
What are you talking about? I'm Santa Claus.
No, you're not.
You disgust me. How can you live with yourself? Just cool it, Zippy.
That's the same version minus the whispering and the fight as what went on there. But, you know, Santa, I know you're confused, but I've got good news and bad news. The bad news is this won't stop anytime soon. The good news is they've done studies. Angry people die sooner. It's just one of 10 reasons why you should try to keep your cool, according to scientists. And that's the message I would give to that woman in the mall. Feng Shui, deep breath. Don't get angry. Breathe through it. All right. Next one up on our real world news hit parade is sort of a privacy issue, and something that I offer this mainly as a point of information. We all carry cell phones. We now have become so reliant on our Android, our iPhone, our iPhone 8, our iPhone X, our iPhone whatever. Our technology we carry in our pocket. And we forget that basically nowadays, an iPhone is a tracking device. An iPhone is a listening device. An iPhone, and I'm not talking you listening, I'm talking about them listening. And they can track your cell phone without a warrant. There's cut-arounds to that. They don't need a warrant to find out where you and your phone are. And I don't care what you turn off on your phone. Anything. If it still has a battery in it, they can track it. The NSA, this lawsuit that's being adjudicated right now, the NSA can track your phone. The FBI can track your phone. This is not just paranoia. Sometimes that is the problem with paranoia. Sometimes they really are out to get you. All right, let's move on to our last real world story of the week. And this involves a concerned mom, whose daughter was being bullied. And like all concerned mothers, she wanted to get down to the root of the problem. She wanted to contact the school. She wanted to contact the teachers. She wanted to know what her child's day was going like. Well, I'll let her explain it because this story kind of speaks for itself. It's a little scary.
There's nothing fair about this.
When Sarah Sims' 9-year-old daughter told her she was being bullied at school, Sims tried to get her help. She called and emailed the administrators at Ocean View Elementary School in Norfolk, Virginia. No one answered, but she kept trying.
If I'm not getting an answer from you, then what am I left to do?
Determined to get proof that the bullying was happening, Sims took matters into her own hands. She sent her daughter to school with a digital audio recorder in her backpack. In the classroom, it was constantly running at her daughter's desk, recording the school day. School officials found out about it, confiscated the device, and called police, who questioned the 9-year-old. Sims says the school never called her. 1 month later, the Virginia mother learned she was in trouble with the law.
Next thing I know, I'm a felon. I've got felony charges and a misdemeanor when I'm trying to look out for my kid.
Wow. What a story. Isn't that incredible? And not that I would think of doing that, but that's a felony. And that's going to get a 9-year-old interviewed by the police? Wow. Another sort of wake-up call. One of the in the category of, you know what? I didn't know that, but now we do. And that's a little scary. I don't care what you say. All right, let's head now to Tinfoil Hat. And in the news, it's well known now. There's different countries that have been to space, and in the space station up there, the International Space Station, there Russian crews, American crews. Things mix up pretty good, but the Russians discovered something, or something, I should say, on the skin of the International Space Station, and it's a bacteria that does not have origins from Earth. No, seriously, this isn't kind of a deal. This is an actual bacteria that is from outer space, that's from somewhere else. And I'm pretty sure that movie just came out. I think Hollywood just did this not too long ago. But this is a wild, wild story. And I'll let them explain a little bit of what exactly was going on. Ignore the Flash t-shirt.
Was alien bacteria found on the ISS? Cosmonaut Anton Shkaplerov says his team found living bacteria on the surface of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. During a spacewalk, samples were collected from the external surface of the ISS. Shkaplerov told Russian news agency TASS, and now it turns out that somehow these swabs reveal bacteria that were absent during the launch of the ISS module. That is, they have come from outer space and settled along the external surface.
That's interesting, isn't it? That it didn't come up, it came down. And I mean down like behind you, somewhere where like open space coming down from behind you. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I find that kind of interesting. Hey, next up on our tinfoil hat section is a man who has plans to launch himself in a homemade rocket, and it's all funded by the Flat Earth Society, or Flat Earthers. Now, the idea is to blast this off. They'll go to a height of, at least from the article I read associated with this, madmikehughes.com there, is going to be going to a height of about 1,800 feet, trying to establish that this is a flat Earth. I would think you might want to get a little bit higher, or at least go out into space where you can get that view. But yeah, 1,800 feet. Are they going to explain this in this video?
He says it will send him into the air at about 500 miles an hour tomorrow. The group called Research Flat Earth is sponsoring this trip.
That's a thing?
The end goal, yes, I'm just telling you what we know.
Okay.
The end goal is to get pictures of the Earth from miles above that prove astronauts lied about Earth's shape.
Well, that's good money gone bad. Really? Seriously? But hey, more power to you. You know, how many people can actually say they've ridden a rocket? And I hope you get to say that you've ridden a rocket up and down and safely parachute opens, and from your view up there, you look out and you see nothing but flat. Well, just so you know, I'm not sure if you're going to be high enough to actually see any curvature. It might all still look flat. So I guess you'll be able to, in your mind, prove your point. God, who knows? Good luck. Be safe. Glad it's not my money. Next up in our tinfoil hat section is, have you seen a UFO? Specifically, have you ever seen a crashed UFO? In Japan, they found something that, you know, looks like it's from another world. Check this video out. It kind of speaks for itself.
And if you've just joined us, you are live Third Phase Moon. We want to get your opinions. Let's roll the video.
Third Phase of the Moon is a website. Good website, actually, for this kind of stuff. Now check this thing out.
All right, some people might claim that this is CGI, but let's just roll the video and we'll go
Yeah,
over
they
this
might.
very closely. Just look at this.
Yeah.
Notice the
Okay.
reflection of the bystanders.
Yeah, it looks like a Mylar
on
balloon,
this
doesn't it?
craft.
Made a heck of a dent. Did it hit any buildings on the way down? Huh? Yeah. Shouldn't there be a few cops or police or military or somebody standing around that thing? Or was that a fresh crash? I don't know. I got to call BS on this one. Looks like a big tubular Mylar reflective balloon. But, hey, that's just me. Maybe it is definitely. Yeah, it's about what it deserves. Good try, guys. You put out some interesting stuff. Very thought-provoking from time to time, but this looks like a twisted balloon, but a balloon nonetheless. All right, that'll do it for our tinfoil hat segment. Next up is our feel-good story of the week. So cue the hamster. There he is, still eating that watermelon. Guinea pig, hamster, whatever, same difference. But there was a great story out of the state of Pennsylvania, somewhere in the Philadelphia area. And I'll give you a synopsis before you see some stuff about this. A woman breaks down, runs out of gas, doesn't have any cash with her, evidently didn't have any credit cards or anything else with her. And a homeless gentleman approaches her, has got $20 left to his name, and he gives her the $20 when she's stranded. And she comes back, starts a GoFundMe page for this guy. She comes back to the area, finds him, and that GoFundMe page has raised over $365,000 for this guy. She's also hired him an attorney, an investment company to take care of the money. This is a good feel-good story, that there are good people out there on both sides of this story. And it is the holiday season, so go out of your way to do something special for somebody like this lady did. Check this out.
There's a lot of people out there, man, that are trying to help.
A lot. Yeah.
$70 donations.
Wow.
Just today. And they're not little ones either. Some are for 100.
I'm taking your video.
Right there.
$1,760.
That changes my life right there.
$1,764.
That changes my life. The 769 changes my life.
Everything.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh.
Yeah, and there's the two right there. And by the way, Mr. Bobbitt, no relation to the earlier story about the gardening shears. No relation at all. The recipient of that fantastic story. Last $20 to a person he's got no idea who she is. He's homeless, got no money. Helps her out. And who says that good things don't come back? That life is in a lot of ways a circle. Good job. Fantastic. All right. If you want to see more of this, go to unsafespacesusa.com. We've got on social media. You can find us at that website. You can get an email to our producer if you have stories and suggestions at producer@unsafespacesusa.com, YouTube, SoundCloud, Twitter, Facebook, iTunes. We got this just about everywhere, and hope you enjoy it. All right? This is it for Unsafe Spaces USA. I'm Randy Cross. Time now to say happy trails.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. everywhere.